So let's talk about what makes this an e-bike or under the Highway Traffic Act. So basically, in order for this to be considered an e-bike, it has to be under 500 watts of power. So if the bike is equipped with a higher rated motor, then it's no longer an e-bike. So what does that mean? That now changes the legal requirements. So if your bike is rated above 500 watts or has an electric motor above 500 watts, then you're going to need to have licensing, insurance, a driver's license, so it no longer is an e-bike or considered an e-bike. So that's the first big thing that people usually talk about is, can I make them go faster? Can I put a larger motor? No, 500 watts is the maximum, okay? And a maximum speed of 32 kilometers per hour on level ground. So if your bike is equipped and can go faster than that, then it no longer qualifies for the e-bike status. Again, it puts it into a different class of vehicle, which then requires, as I said before, registration, insurance, and a driver's license. Some of the other things that make this an e-bike, or some of the other common questions, is pedals. Okay, so the bike has to be equipped with operational pedals. They have to be on. Okay, you can't take them off and put them into your cargo area. Again, that no longer qualifies it as an e-bike. All right, so the pedals have to be on and operational. Some of the other things on the bikes, they're going to have a manufacturer's label designating it as an e-bike. They'll have things like that. As far as seating goes, this particular e-bike is equipped for 2 people. All right, so the requirements for that to operate this e-bike is, 1, you have to be 16 years old. You have to be wearing either a bicycle helmet or an approved motorcycle helmet. So both of these have to be approved helmets. So either one. So 16, wearing a helmet, all right, to operate the e-bike, or be a passenger, and that's something that people don't realize, okay? You have to be 16 years old to be on this e-bike, whether you're operating it or being a passenger on the bike. If it's equipped. So this one looks like it's equipped, it's got kind of the 2-up seat, so this bike is equipped for 2 people. This has got the little platforms there. So yeah, this bike is equipped, or appears to be equipped to have 2 people on it. So an e-bike, for the simplest terms, is a bicycle. Okay, so anywhere that a bicycle can operate, an e-bike can. So if the municipality has laid out bylaws as far as where bicycles can go, it applies to e-bikes. So e-bikes should be traveling on the right-hand side of the road, as close to the curb as practicable. So that doesn't mean, 6 inches away. Usually we talk about, for bike safety, we talk about a meter. Yeah, a meter, or where if a car door were to swing open, you're at a safe distance from that. So basically all the rules of the road apply to e-bikes. So stop signs, use of signals. So if the bike is equipped with signals, then you can use those, or you can use hand signals. So basically it's a bicycle with an electric motor. So all the rules of the road that apply to bicycles also apply to the e-bikes. Yeah, so where to ride on an e-bike, same as a bicycle, you need to be as close to the right-hand shoulder as practical, as safe. So taking up a lane, could you do that? Yeah, if you were in an area where it's not safe, a really tight lane, maybe downtown, it's okay to take up most of the lane for safety until the lane opens up again, and then you can move out of the way. Okay, so we have a couple things there. One, speeding doesn't apply to bicycles or e-bikes, but if you get caught on radar going 45 kilometers per hour on a straight level stretch, then obviously your bike would no longer be considered an e-bike. So then you get into the fact of, okay, you're not operating an e-bike. Do you have the bike registered? Does it have insurance? And do you have a driver's license? So it changes the class of a vehicle. Now if you were coming down a hill and you were going 45 kilometers per hour, then that's something different. But if you were caught going a speed over 32 kilometers per hour on a level ground, then your bike is no longer an e-bike. No helmet, it would be $65. Yeah. So let's talk about one of the other questions that often comes up, and it talks about drinking and driving and e-bikes. So drinking and driving legislation or laws are federal legislation versus licensing and registration, which are provincial legislation. So can you operate an e-bike when you're drunk? No, you cannot. Because an e-bike, although under the Ontario legislation of the Highway Traffic Act is considered a bicycle, under federal legislation, or what we call the criminal code, it's considered a motor vehicle. Okay, because it has a motor in it and it's a vehicle. So if you are operating an e-bike impaired, you'll be stopped, arrested, and charged with impaired driving, just as if you were operating a car. So same penalties, same consequences. All right. If you have a license, okay, that will be suspended. The vehicle will be impounded for 7 days. So everything's the same as if you're driving a car impaired. All right, we see a lot of people that maybe have lost their license opting to operate or have an e-bike. So let's talk about the requirements for that. Okay, if your license or if you are suspended, depending on what the suspension is for, you may or may not be able to operate an e-bike. So, for example, if you have been charged with impaired driving and your driver's license has been what we call prohibited under federal legislation or the criminal code, you cannot operate an e-bike. You are prohibited from operating e-bike. If you are suspended, if your driver's license is suspended under the provincial legislation, the Highway Traffic Act, let's say for not paying speeding tickets, you can operate an e-bike. So it depends on what legislation has suspended your license. So criminal code suspensions or federal suspensions, no, you cannot operate. Provincial suspensions, again, you may be able to operate an e-bike. Yeah, so let's talk about these personal mobility devices, as we call them. And a personal mobility device could be a hand-powered wheelchair, could be electric-powered wheelchair. It could be what we consider those three-wheeled electric scooters or four-wheeled personal mobility scooters. All of those kind of fit into the same thing. And really what it boils down to as far as what they are or what we consider under the law or the rules for them is when you're operating one of those, you are considered a pedestrian. So that basically the same rules that apply to pedestrians apply to those devices or those scooters or mobility devices. So when we think of that, okay, when you're walking, well, typically you walk on the sidewalk. So those are allowed on the sidewalks unless the municipality has set out a bylaw. So you'd have to check with your local municipality to see what the bylaws say. But I don't believe here in St. Thomas or the surrounding area there's any bylaws preventing those from operating on a sidewalk. If there's no sidewalk or there's an issue with getting up onto the sidewalk or off of the sidewalk, say it's curbs, then those devices should be operated on the left-hand side of the road. So they shouldn't be going the same way as cars, okay? They're not vehicles. You would operate them the same way as if you were out walking. So typically if you're out walking along a roadway, let's say there's a gravel shoulder, then you'd be walking along facing traffic. And that's the way those devices should be operated on or operated in a manner. So we see those types of things being operated with slow moving vehicle signs. That's not allowed, okay? That's illegal if you're operating that. Technically you shouldn't be operating that on the roadway going the same direction as traffic. So if you have to be on the roadway, then you should be going facing traffic just like you would if you were walking.